How exciting.
All right. There we go. Nice. All right, we are live. I'm pretty excited. Yeah. I'm gonna mute this so we don't have the feedback. There we go. Hey, Brandon.
Hello there.
So yeah, this is my first live broadcast from the Little Rock, Arkansas studio. I've done a couple Zoom ones, so I lined this up with Brandon about a month ago. And Paul Prater, the record-setting Paul Prater today, the fourth time he's appeared on this silly little thing. Paul and I met Brandon in June at the Monsters of the Mutant Festival in downtown North Little Rock, Argenta area. Out in front of the theater, and Brandon's band was getting ready to perform, and my first note of Mammoth Caravan, and please don't take this offensively. I had not heard your music, but you can, as I'm learning, you can fill the Grand Canyon with shit I haven't heard of. Was that you pressed an album on a saw blade?
Well, okay. So what we did is we found these saw blades on the side of the road,
Nice.
and Robert was like, "Dude, I got an idea." Because there's this band that we're both really big fans of called ISIS, and ISIS had put out this album like 20 years ago and just called it the Saw Blade EP, and it was like a CD attached to a saw blade. So we were like, I can curse on this, right?
Yeah,
so we were like,
yeah.
fuck it, let's go. Yeah. So we spray painted them, and then what we did is instead, like we just took the CD and like a screw and stuff, and like just bolted the CD to it. So like when you ordered the blade or when you buy it, like when you take it home, you unscrew the little thing, and then there's the CD to it, and yeah, it was. It's probably one of my favorite little pieces of merch that we've made because it's just, people loved it. It looks hard as fucking nails.
Yeah,
it's really exciting.
So tell us a little bit about Mammoth Caravan, and is this? I imagine this isn't your first entry into music. You've played before.
This is my first entry
Is it really?
into music.
Okay, awesome.
So it started in July of last year. I came up to Little Rock just to visit, and I ended up meeting our guitarist Robert at a show at Whitewater. That was the band Pantheon was playing, and we became friends. And then a little bit later, we ended up. He's like, "You want to play in a band? I know this guy named Evan Swift that plays guitar." And I was like, "Yeah, let's go." And so I went to his house, and for me, Mammoth Caravan was an excuse to use my guitar, my bass that I brought, and from Louisiana, and then also like my favorite pedals and stuff. And we just kind of started letting it rip. And like on our first practice, we had wrote the 2 songs that are on our 2022 promo that you can find on like Spotify and stuff. And so we just kind of took it from there.
Awesome. So the Mammoth Caravan, describe it. You described it to me in front of the theater. Describe Mammoth Caravan.
For the uninitiated, Mammoth Caravan sounds like a bulldozer to the fucking chest. It's because what we do is we use you would call it like doom or like sludge or whatever. With us, we use so much like distortion and like fuzz and whatnot. And because I just like to be noisy, I like to use my favorite pedals. I like to cause tonal fucking chaos. And so that's pretty much what the band is. Actually, we have speaking of like tone and pedals and shit, we have a very cool announcement that we're putting. I'm not going to spoil it, but we have an announcement that's going to be on our Facebook page on Monday.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow it's going to be going up, and it's going to be some things that we'll be selling at future shows.
Yeah, you've got a couple shows coming up that you wanted to mention, and we'll plug these a couple times. But I thought you guys are playing a show together.
So what happened is I booked a show November 8th at Vino's. These friends of mine, because I used to book shows back in the day, and these friends of mine from Mississippi were like, "Hey, we need a show in Little Rock," and I was like, "Okay, well, let me see if I can help you." And then I wasn't able to help them, but then I tried again. The person I needed to talk to him, and he ended up hooking me up with this show, and so I had just seen. I had just seen Direwolf maybe like the day before or a couple of days before.
And that was your first show, Paul, as a band, right? I mean, you guys have been playing together for a while, but it was your first live show.
It was our first live show, yeah.
Because one thing is I was really, after meeting you guys, I was really excited to like, see Direwolf and to put them on. Because Paul like invited me to see this band. And I was like, normally I would, I'd be like, okay, well, like whatever. But for some reason I was like, yeah, I'll go check it out. Let's see what it sounds like. He told me it was doom metal. So I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. And so then I ended up seeing them and I was blown away because, these are just dudes just practicing, but these songs were like really fucking cool.
Yeah, Paul writes most of the music himself and does it's pretty awesome. There is, if you dig deep enough, there is a guest appearance by the world's worst guitar player on one of his albums. I play a couple notes and they just looped them through and made me sound like I was way better than I am. But yeah, I got to be on a song.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So, Back of a Serpent. And it's got Soy Don who does your tech stuff.
Yeah. Our friend Soy Don. I used to have a friend back in Colorado that had a band. Jason Mannon was his name, and is his name. He had a band called Jason and the Mannonauts. Nice. And I kept threatening to get up and I wanted to sing "So What" by Ministry. I said, if you learn that, I know the words. I can scream "So What" by Ministry, and so maybe one of these days I'll be able to hop on stage somewhere and sing "So What" by Ministry, or maybe not. I don't know if the voice can handle it quite like it could have 25 years ago. So you guys have a show together coming up?
Yes, it's gonna be November 8th at Vino's. It's gonna be False Gods from New York, and like False Gods is like chaotic. I don't really know what to call them, to be honest with you, because it's kind of sludge metal, but it's very abrasive. They remind me of one of my favorite bands, this band called Converge. And then a sludge band from Beneath the Kudzu. They're actually one of the members of that band is from my hometown, and so that's how we became friends. And then the other dudes are in a band called Chief City that I got to do a recording with when they came to Little Rock, which was, I got to do backup vocals, was fucking awesome. But also it's also Direwolf's going to be playing, and it'll be. Is this your first time playing Vino's?
Well, it's Direwolf.
Direwolf.
Yeah, we had dinner at Vino's the other night, and Paul told the story. Your first show there was, if correct me if I'm wrong, when you were 14 years old.
Yeah.
The first time he played at Vino's, he was 14 years old.
So, no, it's not my first show at Vino's, but it's Direwolf's first show at Vino's.
Hell yeah. And, like, the dudes in your band are so fucking cool. And, like, I'm excited. I'm excited to see, like, what y'all are able to do. Also, it's the debut. This show's going to be the debut of a band called Coffin Liquor, which is some friends of mine and an ex-band member, actually, Evan Swift. It's his new project. And so I'm very excited to see them and check it out. So yeah, it's November 8th at Vino's.
So you've gotten a chance to interview. As we were walking in, you were kind of looking at my vinyl collection. You saw a Motorhead album, and you said, "This is the album I got to interview Lemmy about." You've got to interview some of your heroes.
Oh yeah, the only band I didn't get to interview I wanted to was Metallica, but I got to talk to Dave Mustaine, so it's close enough.
Yeah. So who are some? I think your bio that you sent me said Maiden.
So I talked to Steve Harris of Iron Maiden, Rob Halford of Judas Priest, Lemmy from Motorhead. I got to do this is all for a magazine called New Noise, which started in like 2012, I believe, and I got to interview all of Slayer. So I've talked to it was like Tom Araya, Kerry King. I talked to their Gary Holt, which is the dude from Exodus.
No, I love Gary Holt. Gary Holt's one of my heroes.
Yeah, he's fucking awesome. And so yeah, I used to just interview. Basically what I would do is I would find my favorite bands that album's coming out, and I would just message our editor and be like, "Hey, can I like interview them?" And because I would do so much other stuff for her, like if a band was like trying to buy ads and stuff, like I would jump on, even if I had never heard of them, I would do those interviews. And so by doing that, I was able to talk to whoever I wanted to pretty much, which was really, really fun. Lemmy, the interview I did with Lemmy happened, it happened in August and he died in like December of that year.
Well, he did a show like 10 days before he died, didn't he? Something like that, 9 days before he died. So is it Dave Grohl's book? Somebody put out a book recently where they talk, I don't think it was Dave Grohl's, but where they talked about Lemmy, that Lemmy never stayed in hotels when he traveled. He stayed with friends. And have you heard the story? That he would steal something from everybody's house. You've heard this, haven't you, Paul? That everywhere he would go, every time he'd stay at somebody's house, they'd be missing like their coffee pot the next day, or a PlayStation, or a remote control, or he would steal something from every house he stayed in.
Nice.
Yeah,
It would be an honor to have Lemmy steal from me. You know, he and I got to talk about aliens, which was fucking cool.
Oh, nice.
He told me about the time he saw a UFO while he was on tour in what was that band he was in? The very like before Motorhead. Legendary prog rock band. Anyways, he was on tour and yeah, he saw UFOs, so we got to talk about that.
That's awesome. Cool. That's awesome.
It's one of my favorite memories of my life, honestly.
Yeah,
that conversation.
And was this a phone interview, or did you get to sit down with some of these people?
I was just laying in my bed playing with my dog while talking on the phone to Lemmy.
Nice. So you said that the only ones you didn't get to interview was Metallica, and but you're all right with that, huh?
Oh yeah, I'm not worried. They say don't meet your heroes, and if James Hetfield was a dick to me in an interview, I would cry.
Well, you know what? It's funny you say that, because I had a chance to meet Chevy Chase. And Chevy Chase is one of my. You always hear that rumor that Chevy Chase is a dick, you know, and rumor's true. He's a piece of shit. He's an absolute dick. And I was so sad, because I just wanted him to be Clark Griswold. You know, I just wanted him to be the guy that we grew up, and he just was such a dick. And it was, yeah. So, talk about some of your inspirations. Like did you play? Now, did you play bass before Mammoth Caravan? Obviously, if you had one, you played it.
So let's see. So as far as that goes, so I started playing guitar in May of 2020 because a friend of mine. Because of I just wanted to, like, because COVID was shut down and stuff. You know, we had been maybe shut down for 2 months at this point, and I was sick of not being able to do stuff. So I was like, I had this old guitar in my closet. I pulled it out and brought it to a friend of mine at work named Brian Leonard. Shout out Boudin and the Holy Electric Sausage Kitchen. And that was the name of his band.
Awesome.
And so Brian strung it up for me, and first song I looked up tabs, because I had already known how to read tabs because I tried to play like when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. So I looked up the tabs to Iron Man, and I just started learning how to play Iron Man by Black Sabbath. And it wasn't until I got my I had an issue with one of my teeth, and I had to go to the dentist. And then I just remember coming home one night and like just completely fucked up on like whatever pain medication they had me on, and I just started playing All Your Sins by Pentagram on guitar.
Oh yeah.
And then I started learning, like, and I was like, wait a second, I can do this, because I had struggled to learn some stuff. And so then I learned that, and then I started learning Electric Wizard and stuff like that. Fast forward a little while, and a friend of mine goes, hey Ringo, you play bass, right? And I was like, and I just lied to him. I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, can you go on tour with us? And so I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so I just learned these 6 songs on bass.
Did you have to go buy a bass, or did you have one?
He let me borrow one.
Nice.
And so I took literally like the basic knowledge I had of playing guitar, and then he showed me how to play these songs. And so I just started learning. His name is Mitch Lang. The band's called the Mitch Lang Band. He's actually a filmmaker now, making like he made a film about a Bigfoot called Bogman.
I saw that on Amazon the other day. Yeah, I saw that. I didn't watch it, but I saw the ad for it. Yeah.
And so I learned how to play bass so I could play Mitch's songs on tour, and that was those are the first shows that I ever played. That was in August of 2021. As far as my inspiration musically, when I'm on stage, the people that I'm like trying to channel are like specifically like I want people to see me with that bass and that microphone and think like Peter Steele, like Phil Lynott, like Lemmy, like James Hetfield. Like I love those larger than life personalities, especially like I love a fucking bassist vocalist. Like those are the coolest to me, you know. And so that's kind of I don't know if that sounds pretentious.
No, not at all.
Like when I'm on stage, I like to pretend that I'm fucking Lemmy.
There you go.
What I mean,
yeah. No,
it's cosplay. At the very least, it's fun. You know?
Yeah. And Paul, if you got any questions about bands, you guys are both, so hop in there if you got anything. I've
got kind of a more practical question going back a little bit. So when you were interviewing these guys, did the magazine get you in touch with? How did that all work? How did the contact work?
So our editor, Lisa Root, she like knows everybody in the music industry. So I would just say like, hey, I want to talk to Motorhead. Or now in some cases I would get an email. Like in the Motorhead, actually what happened is I got their publicist sent an email out, and I just forwarded it to Lisa, and I was like, hey, can I interview them? And she was like, yeah. And so she gave me their permission and stuff. So then what I would do is I would send the publicist an email with her own copy, which It worked 1,000% of the time. If I put her name in there, it's always gonna lock down. So I thought I was gonna talk to their drummer, I think. And I was cool with it.
Yeah.
And then she sent the thing out. She's like, actually, we're gonna give you Lemmy.
Yeah, snap. Right. Yeah.
So yeah, so to answer your question, like the editor of that magazine knew everybody and knew how to get me in touch. And in some cases, I would have to do my own research. There was a couple of times where what I would do is like with Judas Priest, I found the information on my own of who to talk to. And I just included Lisa on copy, and somehow the dude was just like, yeah, this is cool. Let's do it and stuff.
Nice.
So do you have? This is a business question. Do you don't own those interviews? They're part of the magazine, but do you have the rights to them? You should compile a book of all these interviews.
Yo, no shit. That's exactly what I wanted to do. I literally I brought a hard drive with me to Arkansas that just happens to have all of those interviews in it. And actually, that was one of the things I wanted to do because I've been talking to Paul endlessly about making a book. And that was my idea, was to do a book with like a bunch of old articles. But I guess my problem is I struggle with like, is that pretentious or not?
Fuck no, it's not pretentious. You did the work. That's awesome.
That's right.
No, not at all. I think that would be a very, very cool book. And it would kind of show, and I think it would show the growth of Brandon Ringo. It would be kind of and put out a book of these interviews. You never know what's going to happen, who you get to interview next.
Because some of these are like Dave Brocky from Guar.
Yeah.
I got to interview him partly, and it was more of an emotional interview because it was about their Corey Smoot when he died, their guitarist and stuff. So
and Dave Brocky died a couple of years ago.
Dave Brocky died like a year or so after we talked. I also interviewed Riley Gale from Power Trip, who died probably a couple of years later. And then Warrell Dane from Sanctuary / fuck, what was that other band he was in? I don't remember. Oh, Nevermore. Yeah, so those are all conversations that are very special and important to me. So I really wanted to. I don't want to just let them sit because these are about 10 years old. I actually was gonna call it Old Noise because it's new Noise magazine.
Yeah. No, Brandon, I think that a book would be a very, very attractive thing. I'd read it. I absolutely would read it. I mean, often interviewers are journalists. They're not fans. And when a fan gets to interview somebody about what they do, I think there's a little bit more. It's like the guys that are making Star Wars now. You can tell that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are Star Wars fans. The new stuff. Do you watch Star Wars?
No.
Okay, well, the guys that are making the new Star Wars stuff are fans. They're not business people. They're not professional film people. They're fans that got a chance to do this. So, and real quick, I want to take a side note and something that Paul and I discovered last night when you were talking about, meeting your heroes and then them having one die. One of my absolute heroes died yesterday. And Paul and I talked about this. His name was Larry Becker. And Larry was I don't know if there's a magician out there of worth any shit that has not performed some version of Sneak Thief, which is maybe one of Larry's best contributions to magic. It's a routine that is just, I've used it. I know Paul's used it. I use it every show. If you've seen a mystery collection show, you've seen my version of Sneak Thief. I had a chance years ago. He lived in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I had a chance. I was there with my now ex-wife and visiting her family, and I needed a day out in the world. So I looked him up in the phone book. And I called him and I said, I'm a huge fan. And I had his book. I was reading his book. And I said, can I buy a cup of coffee? And he had since been retired. And for people that don't know magic, Larry Becker is an icon. I mean, he is, and if you don't know, it doesn't mean anything to you. But if you are in the know, Larry Becker is one of those names that is, he's a legend in magic. And the fact that I was just getting back into it. And so we sat for a full day and talked, and he signed my books. I had a chance a couple years later. He came to Colorado and stayed with me and did a lecture. And we sat down and we talked for hours about being a dad and about being managing the balance between work and home life. And because I was working for a beef company at the time when I was doing magic, I wasn't a full-time performer. And it's those kind of things that my conversations with Larry Becker about being a dad are way more important to me than the conversations I had with Larry Becker about Sneak Thief or about his Russian roulette or about his any of his routines. So Larry Becker's I think he would probably be one of the people on the Mount Rushmore of the mystery collection. I would not be where I am without having a chance to get to know Larry Becker. So if you're drinking today, drink one out for our friend Larry Becker. So
Or went out for Larry.
yeah, he was a pretty amazing guy. So all right, so back to metal. I I loved the Mutants of the Monsters Festival. I loved it. I thought it was so great.
Wasn't it so amazing?
And one of the things that I loved about it is, sure, I'd heard of Paul Bear, and I did some research. I knew about Cave In, and I knew about Yob quite a bit. But my highlight of the festival was Spotlight. Spotlights.
Really?
I thought they were just fucking rad. I thought, did you see them?
I didn't get to see
Okay.
him. I had to work. It's funny. Actually, one story I wanted to tell
Yeah.
for this podcast. You know why I ended up down there to meet you guys?
No.
Because I wanted to watch Cave In soundcheck. I'm obsessed with Stephen Brodsky and Nate Newton and like their body of work. Stephen Brodsky's in a band called Cave In. He's also in Mutoid Man, and like he's done work with just all these cool bands and stuff. And like the record label Hydra Head Records, like which ISIS was on and stuff. So and then Nate Newton, of the bassist of Cave In. Because what happened is Cave In's original bassist, Caleb Schofield, died, I believe, in a car accident a few years ago. And so the fact that they're even able to do this is wild. And so the fact that Nate Newton from Converge and Doom Riders with them was really special to me. I was like, I'm not missing a chance to watch those dudes play music, especially like just to warm up. Because as a musician, I'm always curious what other people's like routine is like in that sort of situation. So getting to watch them sound check was cool. Paul Bear, man. So that was your first Paul Bear show?
Yeah.
How was it? Had you listened to them?
Oh, no,
much
I'd
before?
heard of Paul Bear, and I listened to him, but I'd never seen him live.
Oh God! That was my first time seeing them live too. It was truly remarkable.
Yeah.
And there's the one thing about Paul Bear that I know most Arkansas people probably already know this, that I didn't understand, is they're such nice human beings.
Well, I know Paul's had some run-ins, and has one of them's one of your neighbors, right?
Two of them, excuse me, two of them are. They walk around the lake in Lakewood, just right by my house. I've seen them walking
That's
around.
so cool.
Or run into them at the post office or down at Spectators.
Yeah.
At Mutants 2022, one of my favorite moments, and this was kind of a very much a welcome to Little Rock moment for me, was Wake was playing. This was the first Wake show, especially like in Little Rock, in probably almost nearly a decade. And I watched Brett and Devin just standing there in front of me, high five, and that moment really, really impacted me a lot. I know it's just a simple gesture, but watching these two dudes high five and share this like embrace and this emotion and excitement of a band that inspired them, knowing that they are more popular than that band.
Yeah.
No offense, boys. Like it's insane to me. You know what I mean? And so it was just so sweet and so beautiful. And that was a moment that really kind of, when I watched Paul Bear high five during the Wake set, I knew that I was gonna love it here.
Yeah.
And that's what that, and I knew that I wanted that. I wanted that feeling that they felt, and then I got to have that feeling. I got to feel it, and it was more beautiful than I could have ever imagined.
Awesome. So what I other than metal, what other kinds of musics do you enjoy?
I grew up in radio, like with my dad and stuff, so I have an unusual appreciation for like 90s pop music and stuff, and like I listen to a lot of everything. I mean, I'm not gonna sit around and like listen to country music or like honestly, most music that I listen to is heavy, but I love, like, if I hear like a song I know like on the radio and stuff, like I love pop music. I love anything that's catchy. I like weird stuff. I like singing weird stuff at karaoke. Like, I don't know if you heard the song "Fuck the Pain Away" by Peaches.
Oh,
It's
yeah, I
like
know
this
that song, yeah.
I did that at a karaoke, like, and people at Whitewater Karaoke just freak out when they hear, because they think I'm doing a metal version of something. Really, I'm just kind of using my normal singing voice. I just don't know how to sing clean.
Yeah.
So people are always like, "Oh my god, that was like a heavy metal pitch. That was crazy." But yeah, so one of my favorite karaoke songs of all time, and actually the song that inspired Mammoth Caravan, or the way that I sing in Mammoth Caravan, is called "Before He Cheats" by Carrie Underwood. I used to go to karaoke with these drunk, angry country girls.
Nice.
And they would always be having boyfriend problems, and so they would always sing like songs like that, right? And so you can see the place I used to go to, R.I.P. Brass Monkey, used to have the thing on the wall, and you could see the lyrics and stuff as they were going down. And so I just started paying attention one day. I had been drinking a little bit, and I was looking, and I was like, I could do this song. And then so the next time I went out, I decided to try the song at karaoke, and there was 5 people in the room, and they all started cheering for me. And I was like, okay, this is,
nice.
And I had fun, so then I kept doing it. Well, then when I moved to Little Rock, I started doing it, and there's a lot more people at Whitewater Karaoke. So yeah, so I did that for a while, and then so when it came time to do vocals in Mammoth Caravan, I had one frame of reference vocally for what I could do. So I just started singing about mammoths in the same voice that I sing about breaking a dude's vehicle for cheating on you.
And are you the primary songwriter for Mammoth Caravan?
There's a complicated answer to that. I'll say this: all 3 members contributed to our first album. Me, Evan, and Robert. All Robert played drums and stuff, but he contributed some guitar riffs. Evan contributed some guitar riffs. I wrote all the lyrics and stuff. And now with Mammoth Caravan Mach 2, with our new drummer Kettner, Robert, our guitarist, he moved over from drums. He writes the riffs and whatnot, and then me and Kettner just kind of fill in our own stuff. And then we're in the process of writing a new album right now, so I'm kind of working on lyrics for that. And it's not fun. I hate writing lyrics sometimes. When they come to you easy, it's fun. When you have to really work for it and dig for it, it's.
Well, and I see Paul nodding his head over there, so I was going to have you both kind of talk about this. Now, Paul, for most of the Direwolf songs, you wrote the music and the lyrics,
right?
But it's opening up now, and I know Marcus has a song, and Alec has a song, and
Colby's got a couple of good riffs that are making their way into songs.
So between the two of you, and talk about the collaboration effort on how a song comes together when it's not just Paul sitting down and writing the lyrics of the song, and talk about how that kind of, is it somebody come in with I read an article that Iommi has 2,500 unreleased guitar riffs that he's never used on his phone. Oh, wow. And then he'll play something and he'll record it and be like, I'll come back to that. He's got a file of 2,500 guitar riffs on his phone that he wants to put into album sometime, or put into. So
for me, we work a little bit differently. If I write a song, I record the whole thing start to finish. Because I play the bass, I play guitar poorly. Play the drums and record the vocals. So I bring it's a scratch track, but it's a completed song. Excuse me. If it's other members of the band, it usually starts with a riff, Yeah. Like Alec, our bass player, I absolutely love the song we're playing of his. We're ready to record, it's tight, it's good. And it started with just a bass line. And we're like, that's killer, man. And, so then we kind of suggest the construction of it, but as a band, we've also been pretty firm on the idea it's your song. You decide if you don't like this. But one of the songs that Marcus wrote too, and just shout out to him. That was one of the ones I got the most comments on when we played at Whitewater. They really dug that song. And he just had a riff at first, but then, there was this cool breakdown, and we're like, oh, let's play that again because that's fun to play. So we need to play it again. It sounds good and it's fun. And so it really is just kind of everybody throwing in and commenting and going, hey, what if we try this? And that's part of it is, it's not theoretical. We're sitting there on our instruments and let's try this out. And that didn't work. Yeah. Let's try this. That works. I'm going to get Marcus.
Good. Marcus was going to try to swing by today, but I'm going to try to get Marcus in here in the next couple of weeks and talk a little bit about what he's got going on at the Labyrinth and some of the other things. If you guys don't know Marcus Fisher, you'll enjoy the conversation with him. Yeah,
Marcus rules. And to your point, that whole when you just know if it works or if it doesn't. Yeah. So my experience is a little weird because I always have somebody else. Mine with Mammoth Caravan, it's always either Evan or Robert started the songs, or now it's just Robert starts the riffs and stuff. And so I just kind of listen to those. Every time we practice, we'll record instrument. We'll just do a recording of it, and you can really only hear the instruments and stuff. So what I've been doing since Robert's been on vacation, because we record at the end of November. is I've just been listening to the instrumental version and just kind of waiting and seeing when the lyrics come. It's very much like a form of like magic or conjuring, I guess. It's like it just kind of happens. Like with our album I Megafauna, the one that we put out on the Saw Blade, and then we later put out on like a Picture Disc Records. Literally, the first words of that album came to me. They just happened. They just appeared when I woke up one morning. I could just hear my voice singing these words along to the riffs, and then I tried it and it worked, and I was like, okay, cool, let's go.
And Mammoth Caravan's pretty thematic. I mean, you have a kind of a theme. Talk about the theme of Mammoth Caravan. That's kind of what I want to get to.
So it started out as kind of just Robert threw out the name, and then he threw out these song titles, Ice Nomad and Ice Cold Oblivion, and he had a few other song titles in mind. And I just sort of was like, well, I'm not going to mess with something that already worked. So I just took what he had and I just started writing off of it. And so we just wrote a bunch of stuff. I just wrote a bunch of lyrics that worked and then I could scream and then it just sort of fit. I didn't know what I was singing. There was no, in the lyrics on Ice Cold Oblivion, there was no, I want this to be about this.
Yeah. Okay.
It was literally, well, no, there was one song called Frostbite. We knew that we wanted that to be about a baby mammoth that got in the path of this hunter, and Robert was like, basically he kind of told me the story, and I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. So we wrote the lyrics and stuff for it, and then that song kind of launched into the next album. My friend Heath was like, hey, you should write an album about a were-mammoth, and I was like, oh, that's a wonderful idea. Somehow Robert and I were just talking, we were able to link the Frostbite into the were-mammoth, so then it's like now the mammoth that was encased in ice, and then that, and dies in an ice cube, has been resurfaced, and this archaeologist discovered it. He cuts himself on the mammoth's tusk, and he turns into a mammoth under the moon. And ironically, when we played that at Mutants, it was like a full moon.
Awesome.
And that was really fucking cool to me. And so the record that we're working on right now, that if you see us live, it's the one we're playing majority of. It's going to be called Frostbite Galaxy. That's a Mystery Collective first.
All right, there we go. Breaking news. Breaking news.
Frostbitten Galaxy is about. I make jokes about saying the record's about shooting mammoths into space, but that's exactly what it's about. It's about the mammoths that from the Megafauna shooting into space and taking over the galaxy.
Awesome. And Paul, talk a little bit about your songwriting process. Is his Direwolf? I don't want to say they're not as thematic as, but it's not.
It's not.
I mean, it's not like Zeppelin singing about Lord of the Rings.
No, no. I mean, it's kind of like my magic stuff too. I just kind of look back to my inspirations, what inspires me, and some of the earlier Direwolf stuff, which is what we're currently playing because we haven't even gotten around to the later stuff that I've already written and banked. But I've got a whole second album written. We don't even have the first one done yet. There's a whole second one written, which I'm sure will bleed over into a third as the guys add more of their own songs. Anyway, earlier on, it was harder for me to figure out what my inspiration was lyrically, so I went to some of those things I like Blood on the Snow is basically a retelling of Beowulf. That's really what it's about in the background. I just don't make it obvious.
Right.
And then, The Deepest Cut, that's one of my favorites. At the first, we have this weird, and it goes, I'll kill you. That's literally a recording of Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, that he left on someone's answering machine before he murdered them. That's the recording, and that's what that song is about. But you have these lines of, I will love you for all time, I love you. And so it sounds like, I remember Sarah, my girlfriend, going, oh, that's sweet. Is that about me? I'm like, no, it's about Richard Ramirez murdering people. So no. But now my lyrics have tended to be more introspective, more reactions to some emotional something. So what I tend to do is I'll write 5 songs worth of lyrics at once because I'm with Brandon. It's hard for me to just sit down and write lyrics. It feels forced. I need to feel inspired to write. So a lot of the lyrics are based on whatever I'm dealing with or feeling at the time. And I'm real level-headed. I'm not some emotional person. I'm not claiming that. And I certainly I'm not writing Papa Roach lyrics like, oh, you left me, I'm going to die, blah, blah. The lyrics typically are a little more subtle than that. And it's not obvious what it's talking about because it's my way to deal with it. And then, I'm also working on one that's a 5-song EP that's 4 of the songs are done. And that's a whole side project, totally different. And that's a way of it was kind of me working through the process of a friend dying. So, I mean, music to me is cathartic.
Speak to his point. So, there's a portion of I Megafauna where I'm talking about describing like the lyrics of like I was going through a really, really, really rough time, and I was just in so much pain physically and mentally at the same time, and I was just like, why is this happening? I don't understand. And I just started writing out how I felt, and I channeled those, and I took those all of the horrible feelings that I felt, and I just put it out there very obviously because it ties into the song, because there's a portion where the storyteller turns into a mammoth, right? So I have this scream that I do called the transformation, and so then then there's another portion where I describe like it's like, you know, talking about the pain that you like feel of the transformation process. I was literally just talking about how I felt in that moment. Everything that I put in those lyrics is exactly how I felt in that at the time that I wrote them. It just works in the concept of the story, you know.
We've got about a handful of people that are watching live. If you guys have any questions for Paul or for Brandon, please mention them in the comments, and we'll get them on.
Yep. So I want to ask about your bass. What kind of your rig, your equipment, your pedals?
Okay, so I use a $98 My Little Pawn Shop Princess, and Ibanez Geo bass that I bought in Monroe, Louisiana, because I was just messing around. I don't even know why I was at the pawn shop that day. I had no reason for it really, and I think I was potentially looking for a new guitar, and I just saw this bass. It looked like shit, and I was like, huh. And it was like $98, and I was like, well, I do need a bass. That would be really nice. It would be cool to have for recording and stuff. And so I plucked the top string, and it just made this ungodly noise. And I was like, oh. And I didn't even have to plug this bass in, like, to know it was going to be mine. I just bought it straight up. So I brought that with me. The other stuff that I use are like pedals that I also brought with me. One of them's a Behringer. So right now I use the Behringer HM300, which is a clone of my favorite pedal of all time. Which I have the HM2, which is a clone of, but I just didn't really like the way that for some reason the clone just sort of works better with what I'm doing, and so I use that. I use my Super Fuzz pedal, the Behringer Super Fuzz. So these are the very first two pedals I bought. I just bought them because I love the way they sound, and I figured out that the Super Fuzz is how Electric Wizard gets their sound, and the HM2 is how the death metal bands I love got their sound. So I said, fuck it, I want to buy those pedals, and they just happened to work with Mammoth Caravan. I also used a really, really cool reverb pedal that I bought because I wanted to try to play shoegaze. And we have this song called Cosmic Clairvoyance that we play live. It's just an instrumental song, but like that reverb pedal just makes it sound so cool to me. And as far as the amp goes, I use this. I actually traded my original guitar that I named Natasha. I traded it to Robert for this PV bass head that he's got. That's like it looks like, I think most people would use it as like a PA for like, you know, practice or like whatever.
Right.
It's got so much low end that like when I play this thing, I can feel the ground rumble beneath me, and it's just such a undescribable feeling. And then as far as like cabs go, I have a PV 410, but I prefer my favorite is what we call the refrigerators, those 810s.
Mm-hmm.
God, I love a fucking Ampeg 810 so much. Like that's a piece of equipment that I used to see. Like you see them on stage all the time, and you're like, oh, that's a lot of speakers. Oh, it's when you're playing through those speakers, it is a feeling that you just, oh, it's so wonderful.
Yeah, feeling your own music vibrate through your body is an indescribable feeling.
Yep, it's weird, and I love it.
And you play a 5-string, right?
Yes. So I actually have a 4-string bass. I've been tempted to start messing around with a 4-string because, like, listen, I only use about 3 strings of that thing and probably like 10 frets total.
That's what I was going to ask next. That was going to be my next question. Do you actually use 5 strings?
No, man. I only even use the 3rd string because I figured out the whole octave thing, and I figured out that it's the same as the top string.
Right.
So, like, on that Cosmic Clairvoyance song, I start playing this riff on the 3rd string, and then I translate it up to the top string, and so then when I hit that, it just sounds even fatter. Right. And so Yeah, that's about the knowledge. That's I've been using this four string that I have at home. This that our drummer Kedner gave me, and like I love it. It's really really fun. So at some point, like I really want to start using a four string because I think it's I don't know. I think they're even easier to use, and it's more.
Right.
I like to swing my bass around. I don't know, like I like to I do a lot of. I didn't do it so much at Mutants, but I do a lot of like punching and whatnot. So I require a very cheap instrument because you don't want to snap $1,000 bass by
Right.
punching the neck. But I'm okay snapping a $98 bass's neck.
Right. You know, it's crazy though. Those Ibanez Geos actually sound pretty good. So do the guitars. I refinished one. Took one, stripped it down to bare wood, and refinished one of those.
The guitar that I traded Robert is an Ibanez Geo actually, and it's just I will see I did put some new pickups in it that
Right.
actually the pickups I put in this guitar are more expensive than worth more than the guitar itself, like almost worth double the guitar actually, and so yeah, like it's so funny because it's supposed to be like a cheap and like knockoff brand, but like you're right, they really sound. It's something about the wood because
Yeah.
like my old roommate, his brother has a bass, an Ibanez Geo. It's different, a little bit different than mine, but it still has the same. Like when you hit I think it's like the 12th fret. There's something about the way the wood rattles that just, oh, I love that sound so much. And but like other basses like don't do that, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's very that's a thing about music that I didn't realize is like how much it's affected by, like tone is affected by pedals and wood and stuff.
Right. Right.
All these weird elements, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I refinished a Warlock. I always wanted one of those 4-string Warlock bass, and man, it looks awesome, but that's like the worst bass in the world to play. It's got such the head and neck. The neck is long, so it's real heavy, and if you let that thing go, it would just neck dive right to the ground.
Oh yeah, the bass I took on tour was like that. Ooh, that was an interesting experience.
Those are terrible. I hate those when they're not balanced. But also, all the pointy bits don't make for ease of playing. I mean,
they
if you're
just look
standing,
cool.
it's fine. But if you sit, it doesn't go right on your leg anywhere. It's
They look cool, and that's pretty much about it.
yeah. I like.
Well,
them from when
I
was a
remember I
kid.
saw Doyle from the Misfits. I saw his band play in Colorado, and that guitar that he plays is the Annihilator. It's all like goth and has points and shit all over it, and he only has 3 strings on it. Yeah, he only had 3 strings on it because he just beat the shit out of it. But it doesn't look like it's even comfortable to hold. Those old, Jerry only had that bass with a big skull head on it, and it was a monster. And I mean, luckily, I think he only knew 2 or 3 notes on that
Right.
bass anyway. But it was, but those instruments they look cool, but they're not.
Yeah, 3 strings. You can play a power chord.
Well, that's and that's all. I mean, if you know anything about the Misfits, that's pretty much the. I mean, or any of the punk of those days was just pretty much.
Right. Power
So-
chords. Yep.
So to switch a little bit from music, when before we went live, Brandon asked about Paul and I's. Paul and I did a week at the Stanley Hotel a couple months ago, and Brandon asked how that was about the Stanley.
Because The Shining is like one of my favorite horror movies of all time, or one of my favorite films in general, really.
And so he asked if the hotel was really haunted, and Paul and I kind of, gave the typical, well, it depends, So, and Brandon said Brandon's a believer in ghosts and the paranormal. Do you have any experiences? Do you have a ghost story?
Yo, I got to go ghost hunting for the first time it was, well, I don't know if it was actually, if you would consider it ghost hunting, but I got to participate in a ghost hunt
Yeah.
with some friends. It was really, really,
Did you see anything?
No, but I did hear some weird shit.
Okay, tell us about it.
So I was like, it was at Four Quarter, which actually like
Paul knows the story. It's
my favorite bar. And so I learned that there's like this whole lore and stuff. Well, a friend of mine that does this, he told me he was going to be up there on Tuesday after karaoke. I'm like, well, hell, I was already going to be there after karaoke anyway. So I got to hang out with him. And so they set up all their equipment. And it's so funny to me because with all the equipment they set up, the one thing that was the most jarring was I was just sitting there on the couch and they were like, they hit record and they were like talking like, they were, asking the ghost, asking like whatever questions and stuff. And this dude hit record on his phone and you could just hear something coming through like a whisper. Cause like the room was dead silent whenever they were asking questions. And then to like hear the playback and hear a voice like whisper, "Who are you?" While and I was sitting, I don't know how far away I was, but I was pretty far away from this dude, and I could hear it. And I was like, wow. I don't know what that was, but I know that it definitely makes me think about it. Definitely is gives me something to think about. You know what I mean? Like it's I want to believe. I think it's neat.
No, I absolutely want to. I wish I had the proof. I wish I could see something. This Wednesday and Thursday, and the remaining Wednesdays and Thursdays through October, I'll be doing the Booze and Brews tour, where we stop in Four Quarters, one of our stops, and tell some stories and have a little bit of spirit communication in Four Quarter. We conjure up some communication with some spirits. And
the story that they tell about the what's her name, Annabelle or whatever,
Anastasia,
and then the dude, what was the dude's name?
Maxwell.
God, that story. It's. Yeah, I won't go into it, but
no, I'm going to be telling that story on Wednesday and Thursday at the the Booze
come
and Brews
see him
tour.
if you want to hear that story.
HauntedArkansasTours.com for tickets. I think Wednesday is, if it wasn't sold out, it will be soon. I think we were at 18 to 20, but Thursday I think there's several available. But they're selling. We looked the other day, and these tickets are selling very, very well. If you go back a couple episodes, we had Paul on and Amy Jones, and we talked about the different tours. And I know Amy's killing it. Amy's doing tours 4 nights a week, 5 nights a week,
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, and they've been she's sold out a couple of them, and we had really good turnout. So HauntedArkansasTours.com or on the Facebook as well, and scroll through the Mystery Collection Facebook page. You can find lots of links. But yeah, I've got some fun little experiments we're gonna try on this tour. I'm gonna talk about the old drugstore and how drugstores aren't necessarily always for healing. Sometimes people buy poison at drugstores and use those poisons for
personal massagers.
Yeah, right. So I'm looking forward to getting those started. I was supposed to do them last week. I was supposed to start last week, but the week before, Paul had COVID and I had COVID last week, and I tested negative yesterday, so everybody's safe here. But yeah, I'll tell you that COVID was my first time having it, and one day I was rough, but I bounced back pretty well. So I did get to do them last week.
I've got a question for Brandon, and we can go ahead and answer this while it gives him a minute to think about it, because we've talked about this, and we'll narrow it to 3. 3 concerts you could see. It doesn't matter if they're dead, gone, anything.
Yeah.
What 3 concerts would you see? So I think we both agreed, didn't we? Led Zeppelin in their prime, and we said in their prime.
Absolutely.
So Led Zeppelin would be one for sure. You're ready. You already know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So one of mine is, now this is a little vague because I don't remember the exact, and there was a few variations of the lineup and stuff. One tour I wish I could have caught is called the Earache Grind Crusher tour, with like Napalm Death, Godflesh, Bolt Thrower, Carcass, and like all these like sick death metal bands. I would love to see Bolt Thrower live, and I feel like seeing in some gritty club in like Tampa Bay, Florida, or whatever. Like I think that would be sweet.
I saw Godflesh several years ago. I saw them open for Danzig.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dude, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, so all right, one of my answers would be I would love to see Danzig on the tour for How the Gods Kill.
Yeah.
That would be.
So that was actually that was my first Danzig. I've seen Danzig 8 times.
Oh, really?
I've seen him I saw the first show back at Riot Fest when they reformed the Misfits. I don't know, 5 years ago. I saw that first one in Denver. I saw him do the Sam Hain Blood tour when they did and then I've seen the first tour I saw was Danzig How the Gods Kill 1993 with the original lineup. And the opening band was Armored Saint and Genitortures.
Oh wow.
And it was pretty rad. But Danzig's a big deal to me. I've seen Danzig in all the new Danzig stuff. God bless you, Dan. Danzig is fucking terrible.
It's produced so poorly.
It's that Elvis album is just garbage.
Hey, fun fact about the Elvis album though, I got to interview him about that. Was it the Elvis? No, it was the other covers record he did. I got to do an interview. Yeah, I got to do an interview with him for that. That was really
How
fun.
was he? He
was
seems
amazing.
like he'd be kind of a pretentious dick. Is he all right?
Dude, you know what it is? I played to his ego, and so I only asked him questions about like his stuff and like his comic books. And like the question where I could feel him open up to me was, I asked him what it was like about the song number 13.
Yeah, that he ended up selling to or giving to Johnny Cash.
Yeah, I got to ask him about that, and man, whenever he got to talking about that, like it was I could tell that we were cool. And then he told his publicist to tell me thank you, or tell my magazine editor or whatever, thank you. That was my favorite moment. And so yeah, I'm a big Danzig fan. Because he was nice to me now, like I'll always be I'll always talk nice about that man, regardless of what a weirdo he is.
Well, those first 4 Danzig albums, that original lineup, I he's touring now. Is it How the Gods Kill he's touring out with? That he's doing the whole album? I think he is. I think he's doing the whole album, but it's the new band. Bring back the old band, man. Bring back Biscuits and John Christ and Erie. Bring that band. I don't know. Those first 4 Danzig albums were.
I think to see a set with like just the first 3 or 4 albums worth of material, God, that would be insane.
Yeah. All right, so you got one more. You said 2.
Okay, so we got death metal, we got Danzig. Okay, so like this is gonna sound kind of cheesy or whatever. I guess like Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. I don't think that's cheesy at all.
He was on mine too.
Yeah.
Because, like, okay, there's about 1 billion other people that would be like, okay, that would be cool to see. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, seeing Metallica and, like, and the Kill 'Em All tour would be cool. But, like, Jimi Hendrix is someone that I don't really understand why I like his music so much. It's just something that it just speaks to me, and I can feel it, and, like, it's just. I feel like seeing him live would be a really, 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 really fun experience, just because of what the wild shit that he does, with his guitar and stuff. Like, I think if I was gonna pick a specific like Hendrix thing though, I would want to see him in like a small bar, like a bar like the size of like a Whitewater type thing. Like when he was like, I bet that would just be ridiculous.
Yeah. Paul and I got to go see Sleep Token a couple weeks ago.
Oh, was that cool?
When they originally sold the tickets, it was at a theater that what did it hold? 1,200 people, 1,300 people,
like that, yeah.
And then they sold out in 10 minutes. So they bumped it up to a place that supposedly hold what, 3,500?
I think maybe 4,000.
4,000, and oh my God, this place was packed. But it still was a pretty small, intimate venue. It was the Mission Ballroom in Denver, Colorado, and I think that's probably the last time. That's the smallest. That's the smallest center place we will see Sleep Token in a long time.
Oh yeah,
because they played the hall, and like, dude, next time they come back, it's either going to be at Rogers or Simmons, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, and if they had 4,000 people, if they only had 4,000 people there, I would be shocked.
Right. It was packed. It was packed. Oh shit! The line went blocks. I mean, literally 5 blocks around the building to get in. And merchandise, they sold out of merchandise before Sleep Token even took the stage.
They were sold out of merch.
They sold out of all large, extra large T-shirts were out before they even took the stage.
I don't know about you, Paul, but that sounds like a nightmare to me, selling out of merch before a show and then having to like recoup before the next show. Like,
well, but that's poor planning on their management. I mean, when the whole like 22 city tour sold out in under 20 minutes. And then they started moving it to bigger arenas. I think that's a management problem that says, okay, you got to figure one of every 3 people, one of every 4 people buys a shirt.
Well, they have the stats. Somebody has the stats.
They don't need to ask some asshole from Colorado what the stat is.
Yeah, there's some kind of industry.
Somebody knows, right? Somebody knows this,
right?
And to run out of merchandise is and I think what they did is they had an allotment for each show. What you do is just put everything you got up there and then order to have it meet you down the road. I don't know. I'm not going to explain business to somebody that's making millions touring.
Like, it's hard enough to manage merch when you're in a band that plays like once a month and like, within like a 2 to 3 hour radius. So I can only imagine that's one of the things about being on tour that I think sounds like a logistical nightmare is the whole like, the merch situation. I mean, it's an amazing situation to be in, but I used to book shows for band, and like there would be all the times, like one time Suicide Silence. This was like before they got signed to Century Media, had played at this venue in Monroe, Louisiana. It was them in Alshot Parish, and I'll never forget going to the FedEx store to pick up a box of shirts for Suicide Silence. And probably one of the biggest regrets of my life is Mitch Lucker, R.I.P., offered to give me a shirt, and it was a white shirt, and I didn't listen to the band. It's like, oh no, I'm good, thank you though. I should have taken the fucking shirt.
Well, I'm pretty excited about them, and I'll have to show you some of them. I'm a t-shirt company that occasionally does magic shows. I love my merchandise. I love my shirts. I get shirts printed all the time, and I've got really fun ones, and I like it. I come up with a batch, and I make them, and then when they're gone, they're gone.
Dude, that direwolf shirt you gave me, so comfortable. It's amazing.
Well, I've got good quality shirts.
That's
the key, and that's Paul does the same. They're the same ones. The Bella Canvas. Yeah. I think every band ought to get Bella Canvas. They cost more, but
you know
you'll
what?
wear them more.
I paid $70 for a shirt at the End Sabbath tour. $70 for a T-shirt, and it was that shitty, the Gildan Range or whatever, the ones that you wash once and they shrink and they get hard and they're not comfortable, and it's $70.
$70 for a shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, buy the Bella Canvas. It's worth it to pay for the upgrade. Because if you think about what a band shirt is for the band, it's your marketing.
Absolutely.
So the more comfortable it is, the more people will wear it, the more your marketing is getting out there.
Yeah, no, I don't wear the Sabbath shirt anymore. It's not, I think my kid has it now. So
well, they're probably never going to get known since you're not wearing their shirt.
Well, yeah. But what I'm saying is that other bands ought to take, up and coming bands got to spend that little bit extra and make it something that people are going to wear.
Right.
Our friend Marcus, we had lunch with him, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and he had a shirt on that was the death metal logo. And I said, Marcus, you got to tell me what the fuck does that say? And it was something like grasshopper under the tree or something like that. I'm like,
oh, the grasshopper lies heavy.
Yeah. Okay. I could not make that out in that logo. I had no way did it say grasshopper in that logo. So
actually, it's funny. We talk about bands that were little tiny and then they exploded. So that tour, the he got that shirt at, it was the Grasshopper Lies Heavy, Capra, and the band Fred. They played at Labyrinth. Mm-hmm. Dude, the band Capra, literally right after they left Little Rock, like they had already been signed to Metal Blade, and this was like literally almost about a year ago. That band has exploded too. Like now they're on tour with like Killswitch Engage and Zao, and like they're touring with like huge bands. And like the fact to me that Capra played at the Labyrinth, like is very interesting.
Yeah,
another really cool Little Rock story. I've noticed Little Rock has a lot of those. Like I've seen big bands in tiny places, like Knocked Loose playing at like a weird obscure record stores, and like I saw Lamb of God at Vino's and stuff. That's one thing I love about this place.
Yeah, Paul told the kids the other night that you saw Green Day at Vino's
way back when. And
you were at that show?
And Typo Negative.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Saw Typo Negative there, and then like 2 months later, they were at Barton with Pantera.
The rule. Wait, did you get to see him again with Pantera?
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, that was 93, so that ages me. Is that right? Yeah, 93 or 94. Yeah, it was Pantera and Typo Negative.
That's so awesome.
So did we get your 3?
Oh, I'm gonna be honest. So I got a bonus. Yes,
you got a
death
bonus
metal.
one?
Oh, yeah, my bonus. Yep. He mentioned Black Sabbath. I would like to see Black Sabbath with the OG lineup with like on the Volume 4 tour where you only get those first 4 records worth of material.
Yep.
Holy shit! What a night that had to be.
I remember seeing a sticker one time that says, "Never trust anybody but yourself," in the first 4 Black Sabbath albums.
And ironically, the 5th one is actually my favorite overall.
Yeah.
But like Sabbath Bloody Sabbath is just an absolute masterpiece. But those first 4 records are, I don't know, there's just something about them. Like, it's just, I feel like Sabbath Bloody Sabbath was almost like it's a miracle they were able to make that record and have one last badass moment together. Like, and then of course they had the Dio albums. They got to do it again, make another legendary record. But yeah, like those first 4 are just.
Yeah, I love Sabbath. There's not a lot in my life that is holy. Sabbath is one.
Yeah.
And but it pains me to admit that Ozzy's maybe, if he's lucky, the 3rd most talented person to ever be in Sabbath. I mean, behind Naomi and Dio. Is there a better metal frontman than Dio? Paul and I had this discussion last night, and we were playing Holy Diver at Reno's.
The only person I would put above Dio theoretically would be Rob Halford.
Okay.
Yeah,
Rob Halford appears on a motorcycle and he's still screaming like falsetto screams perfectly at whatever, like in his like 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever age he is. Rob Halford is still doing that shit. Yeah. I'm 38 years old and I am exhausted after playing a 25-minute set. Well, I don't see how someone like Rob Halford can do what he does for 2 hours and not.
King Diamond's still out there doing Merciful Fate tours, and that guy's got to be late 60s.
Oh yeah.
And he gets up there. His voice is the, that's somebody I'd like to see, but I don't know if he'd be one of my top 3. I'd love to see King Diamond. And maybe 15, 20 years ago, King Diamond. I imagine he's still good. He's still selling, but
the Abigail tour.
Yeah.
Well, and I was lucky enough to get to see twice now. One of them, thanks to Paul, a band I never thought I would, that would have been on my list, and that's Maiden. And thankfully, I didn't have to go. Oh man, I wish I could have seen them when they were.
No,
better.
they were hot.
They
when
were
we
excellent.
saw them. We saw them. Yeah, they were hot.
Saw
What
them
year is
twice.
that?
This was last year.
Last year.
Really?
Yeah.
The first time I saw them was right before COVID, and then they discontinued the tour and recontinued it last year. So
Yeah.
I saw them twice on the same tour, but like 4 years apart.
Yeah.
That was actually Iron Maiden goes down as my favorite concert of all time.
Yeah.
Like for real. Like this was like one of his greatest hits tours and stuff. Thank God it was the greatest hits tour. Like I can only imagine how weird it would be seeing Iron Maiden play like one of the newer albums live.
Actually, their new stuff was pretty good.
it's good, but you know, like I want to hear like the fucking Trooper, you know.
But you
Right.
did. You did.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
did.
that's the thing. Is
We
you
did.
did. You know, they only played a couple off
They
the new
did,
one.
yeah, maybe 2 or 3 songs off the new album. Now, when I saw them before COVID, it was all just like the Best of the Beast is what the
Yeah.
tour was called, and this was still the Best of the Beast tour, but they did some of the stuff off that Stratego,
Yeah,
strategic.
yeah.
I can't remember something
the
like
Ninja
that.
Samurai theme song,
Yeah.
and they had the
set-
big Eddie come out like a 10-foot Eddie in the samurai outfit and fought. It was
Yeah, I was gonna say
rad.
the set was awesome. It was
Yeah.
like a Japanese imperial city.
Yeah.
It was really cool. You know, Iron Maiden's gonna kill it on set. So
We saw Amon Amarth about a month ago open for Ghost, and their stage setup, Brandon, was unbelievable.
it was
I
awesome.
saw
It was-
pictures that a friend of mine went to that tour and was
Yeah.
like sending me like oh god, and that's such a weird pairing too.
Well,
Among
we
other
figured
guys.
it out.
Ghost has always done weird pairings,
Yeah.
though. Always. You know, every time I've seen Ghost, it's like, what? Mastodon. I love him. I love Ghost. That's a weird combo.
We think it's just Tobias picking bands that he likes to listen to.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
And truly, that's like the one thing, the one lesson I've learned from heavy metal, even in just playing it for a year and a half or so, is that's what matters the most. Is playing these shows with people that you like, you know, that you care about,
Yeah.
you know, and playing like cool shit. Like, you know, there's gigs that I wish we could get. And like, there's like stuff I wish we could do, but getting to do the stuff that we do get to do with our friends, like that's
well, and that's not just with music. I mean, Paul and I've done a handful of shows together in the last couple of years, and there's been I've been parts of shows of 10, you know, maybe not 10, but 6 or 7 other people that have meant nothing to me. That are just, you get up and you do your piece and you walk off, and it's just, but to get to do something like the Stanley Hotel with one of my best friends and to do that kind of stuff. Paul and I had a tour scheduled that was supposed to kick off on March 22nd, 2020. And we had like, I don't know, 10, 12 days booked. And we were in Dallas, Shreveport, New Orleans,
shout out Shreveport, Louisiana.
Somewhere in
Wichita.
Wichita, yeah.
We had a great gig,
That
a
would've
3-night
been-
gig in Wichita that was going to pay more than those 3 nights in Wichita were going to pay more than the entire the rest of the tour.
probably would have covered the cost of the whole, whole tour.
Yeah. And we were supposed to kick off March 22nd, 2020. And you know what happened. I mean, everything fell apart.
God, see, I worked in the news at that time, and
Yeah.
like I will never forget sitting in this uncomfortable red chair when I heard Jared Floyd, our meteorologist at the station. I was like, dude, that's awesome. He was like, Rudy Gobert, or no, he told me, he's like, hey, first he told me about the Rudy Gobert thing. This dude that got COVID, like from a press conference or whatever. He was like being silly. He's like, I'm not gonna get COVID.
Oh, the
from
basketball
this.
player?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then like literally, I think it was the same day that the NBA just
Shut down
it down
in the middle of games.
Yeah.
There's the famous clip of Mark Cuban sitting on the bench. I mean, while he was playing, getting the text and going, fuck, you know? And then he's like, all right, so everybody just gets up and they call it.
And like I was really, really into the NBA at that time because Ja Morant is one of my favorite basketball
Oh,
players.
I love John Morant. I wish that kid would get his head straight.
Yes,
I
me
mean,
too. The lineup the Grizzlies have this year is their best chance to win.
Yeah,
the
they got to
title.
go 25 games without him.
And
But they
so-
got to beat the Nuggets if they.
Thank
I mean,
God
that's-
for Derrick Rose.
Yeah, you know the Nuggets were favored until last week, and then that Damian Lillard trade
Yeah,
put Nuggets in second place. So
I'm curious to see how the Bucks work with Lillard and,
Yeah.
and Giannis. But yeah, so I was obsessed with the Grizzlies. So getting to see like Jaren Jackson and Brandon Clark play was really exciting, and I was really looking forward to trying to go to a Grizzly game that year. And then that happened.
well, this next basketball season, let's go to a Grizzly game. We'll
do
just
it.
find out when the Nuggets are playing them, and we'll go watch the Nuggets play the Grizzlies. That'd be fun.
And a fun little segue to a thing I wanted to talk about is one of my favorite things about playing music this year is on January 3rd this year we played our first show in Memphis, which I used to long to come to Memphis whenever I lived in Louisiana. Like I wanted to visit it, but I just was never able to. It's like 5 hours away and blah blah blah. So this year alone, we've played Memphis. Like I think when we play there with Fear Factory this week, it's gonna be like our sixth time playing there this year, which is truly bonkers, because we played there with like Weed Eater and Chained to the Bottom of the Ocean, who's become one of my favorite bands now. And like,
When is that show?
so the Fear Factory show I'm referring to is this coming Thursday the 12th at Growlers with a band called Lions at the Gate. And I'm really excited about that because the singer of Lions at the Gate is Christian Machado from El Nino, and their guitarist was in El Nino. These are dudes that lost the band that was their identity for so long, and they've had to restart, and they restarted a new name, and they've already gotten back most all the heat that they had. And so now like they're touring with Fear Factory now, because this Fear Factory tour, the only reason like it's even happening the way it is because they're doing a little baby tour to get to because they're going to be touring mixing up with like Lacuna Coil soon, so like on a headline run with them. So this is just sort of a thing to do just to get them to Atlanta, basically. So, and then Lines at the Gates going out with them. So I'm not going to lie, I'm a little intimidated by it because, like, the dudes in Fear Factory, like Dino Cesaris, I watched him play with Soulfly at the Hall, and, like, he's just this larger-than-life figure. And, like, these songs are so important to me. And then, like, the dudes in Lines at the Gate, like, knowing we've got all these dudes that have been doing what I want to do at such a high level since I was in high school. All of these dudes have been doing this for the most part since I was in high school. And so as someone that's been playing heavy metal for like a year, it's very intimidating to me, and I'm excited about it, but it's going to be weird.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, do you get stage fright or nerves?
Ooh, I wouldn't call it. It's definitely not stage fright, and I wouldn't call it nerves. I get very anxious, and because I'm always like the biggest thing that makes me anxious before a show is like if there's a bunch of people around, like are these people actually going to watch us? Like and do they care? Are they going to give a shit about us at all? Like when we played at Fort Smith, at this place called Heroes with our friends, and like Ghost Hollow and Stash Hag and Mudlung. I didn't know anybody in that building outside of the bands, Well, actually, I did. A couple of friends came, but I was just so nervous. Like, are these people even going to care? I've never even been to this city. Like, do they are they really going to give a shit? And you know what? The crowd was cool. They enjoyed it. It was loud and raucous, and it was fun. So to answer your question, I get anxious, but like I have like a little ritual that sort of kind of keeps me from getting too in my head. Like if I go use the bathroom, like right before I go on, I just use that entire time to just like meditate and just be in my head and just psych myself up. And like I have this mantra I repeat to myself that I'm like hard as nails. And so like when I get on that stage, if I'm feeling hard as nails and like I'm about to kill that shit, then those people are gonna get a hell of a performance. You know what I mean? So I try to, and that's one thing I had to learn is that mindset. And so I've learned now, if I can get myself in that mindset, it doesn't matter if we're playing to just the bartenders. Like I'm gonna fucking go crazy.
Yeah. Where can people find Mammoth Caravan? Where can people find information on?
Facebook.com/Mammoth Caravan, MAMMOTHCARAVAN. Also, Instagram is Mammoth Caravan Doom. If you want to listen to our music, please go to our Bandcamp page. Maybe like consider buying a record. We're gonna have vinyl records, actual like vinyl that we've got like test presses for and shit. Actually, we sold the test presses at a show in Little Rock, which is so exciting. So we're gonna have these records soon, red and black vinyl.
Cool.
And you can buy one on their Bandcamp specifically. We're on Spotify, Amazon Music, and all of that shit.
Cool. So you've got this Thursday. You've got the show coming up with Paul in November.
Yes, that'll be my first show in Little Rock as like a booker. And it's just like a dude that just like set it up and was like, here, boys, let's go. And so not playing it is going to feel a little strange. Getting to be the promoter, though, is very exciting. And I hope to do like more stuff like this.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
like I see like what Stan from Terminal Nation does here, and I see what Evan from More Revisions did, and what Sam from Heavy Hits do, and Tinsley with her like Chokehold Productions. Like I see all these people that have built a name for themselves as promoters and bookers in this town, and to even if this is the only show I ever just like promote and book here, like it's awesome because every band on the bill means a lot to me,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And so that's why this show is so important. It's just because it was a thing. It's just an opportunity fell in my lap, and I got lucky, and I was able to actually like capitalize on it, which
And I don't think we finished your three, Paul.
Oh, man, top three would be tough. I would like to see Zeppelin in their prime. Jimi Hendrix was on my list too. I think maybe the other one's going to have to be Alice in Chains.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
I was supposed to see them.
I assume with Lane Staley.
Yeah, oh yeah. Original lineup. I was supposed to see them in 1992 at the Pyramid in Memphis, and they couldn't make it. I'm sure it was a Lane Staley issue, most likely. And that show was maybe the craziest thing. They brought in a local Memphis band. They were opening for Van Halen, which is weird anyways. But, Alice in Chains also opened for Poison. So, weird combo.
Yeah.
It was that, before grunge, it quite broke.
Because they were kind of hair metal-y on that
Yes.
first record.
Yeah. So I was supposed to see them. They brought in some local band from Memphis, and people started, they sucked. They did. And people started booing them and throwing things on stage. And the singer said, "None of you motherfuckers are on stage." And I thought a riot was going to break out in that place. I've never seen more cups and bottles go flying through the air at a concert.
See, and that's why playing heavy metal at a high level is terrifying, because it really could happen. You know what I mean? You open for the wrong band or the wrong crowd, and like people don't care about your music. It doesn't even matter. Like Slayer had that problem a lot. Where the bands. Slayer knew that a band was cool because if people didn't throw stuff at them, you know what I mean? Whereas, that's a true story. Oh wait, another story. So on the Alice in Chains Van Halen tour, one piece of gear thing that blew my mind was Jerry Cantrell was talking about tones in the fingers and stuff. He's like, Eddie Van Halen playing through my rig just sounds like Eddie Van Halen, whereas in like me playing through Eddie Van Halen rig sounds like me like playing through Eddie. And that was a story that really I found very fascinating, because you think Jerry Cantrell and Eddie Van Halen are two distinctly different dudes with distinctly different rigs and stuff. And so the fact that they can still sound like each other on each other's rigs, that's like a thing I think is really fascinating.
Yeah, there's, like Mike Mosley that I was telling you, I record stuff with him. He's just got a sound and a feel. And, I think a lot of it is just the player, especially if they have their own distinctive sound or feel or what have you. And Mike's that way. And it doesn't hurt that Mike was in my first band ever. So, I've been playing music with him since we were teenagers.
Well, we were talking about this the other night. When you hear David Gilmour play the guitar, it's David Gilmour.
Oh, yeah.
And when you hear Mark Knopfler play the guitar, that's Mark Knopfler. Whether he's playing a Knopfler song or not, that's Mark Knopfler. He's got that vibe. And there's very few people that I think, even if a great guitar player is playing a Gilmour song, it's not Gilmour.
Yep.
So I also have to defend this, and I caused quite a scene with this argument last night. I would see, I've seen Kiss about 7 times, and I think seeing Kiss back before they became, like maybe on the Alive 1 tour, when they were just stadium rock before they started selling everything, when it was still a production but not the production. I think that would have been pretty rad.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then of course
I don't even listen to Kiss, and I would love to see them live.
the one that is on my list that I hope I get to see, I probably won't, is I want to see Neil Young, and that's been on my list for a long time, and I've never had a chance, and I think I probably have missed that chance to see him. So I don't know. He lives in Colorado, so
Just show up.
Just dial them up.
Yeah, he lives in Telluride, which is not close to where I live. It's maybe the furthest spot from where I live in Colorado, but
Well, doesn't he just have big parties where he invites so you can just show up? No
yeah,
one
I'm sure.
would
I'm
know?
sure. I was walk in. Hey guys.
Yeah. Just tell him you're the tour manager for a band.
Yeah. Well, his band. I think they just played here. Lucas Nelson and
Promises.
Promises-
They're coming to the hall in a couple weeks.
okay,
actually.
that's maybe I saw it. Yeah, that's the new Neil Young band. Lucas Nelson. You know who Lucas Nelson is, right?
Yes.
It's Willie's son, and that Promise of the New, is that what it's called?
Promises of the Real. I
Promise of
believe.
the Real. Okay, yeah, they're Neil Young's new backup band, and so they've been playing. They replaced. They're the new Crazy Horse. So
That's so cool.
yeah. So all right, well we're about a little about hour and 20 minutes in, and so check out Mammoth Caravan on all the social media. Mammoth Caravan Doom on the Instagram.
Be sure and look out for a little announcement we're going to be making tomorrow. I'm very excited about it.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. All right.
Thank you so much.
Oh, hey, but thanks. I hope you can come back on here again sometime.
Oh, I would
We'll
love
have
to.
you. Well, maybe we'll figure out how to make this thing mobile and come out to one of your shows sometime and shoot a little bit of stuff from your show. Stay tuned. There's going to be several pop-ups in the next couple weeks just for fun. I've still got my friend Dan Mothershed, who's an actor and a comedian and a writer and a Malort drinker. He wants to come on.
His pants aren't going to shit themselves.
That's right. That's right. And my Calvin Von Crush, the occult collector, I had to cancel with those guys this week. It was the day that I was not feeling that COVID really hit me. Sunday, October 29th. I'm going to be doing it from here with zooming in with my friend Ryan Roth, and Ryan is going to be interviewing me. We're going to have, he and I are going to shoot a little video this week and kind of send it out. So if you have any questions that you want to ask me that you don't want to ask live, you don't want your name on them, you can get a hold of Ryan on the Facebook. His link is in the advertisement. Ryan's a dear friend. I know Paul's met Ryan, and Ryan will be a great person to have these conversations with. So I told him nothing's off the table except for a few little things that he knows. There's some things he won't ask, but yeah. So we've had several requests. People say you always ask these questions, but we want to hear somebody ask you. So that's it. If you got any other ideas for guests or topics, I'm going to reach back out to Jake Anderson. I think of all the shows I've done, maybe 30 or 40 shows I've done, Jake Anderson was an absolute one of my favorites. Jake Anderson wrote a book called Vanish at Midnight. And it was about the Elisa Lam story. I don't know if you know the Elisa Lam, the Cecil Hotel story, the girl that was dialing the buttons on the elevator, and then she had this weird freak out where her hands start moving in this weird thing. It's all on security camera, and then she disappears.
Yeah, you got to look up the video.
Yeah.
It's really creepy.
And then they find her a week later in the water tower on top of the.
Oh, I do know that story. Oh
Yeah.
my God, it's so.
Yeah, Jake wrote the book about that, and Jake, I had Jake on at a time in my life where I was going through a really, really hard transition. My marriage had just fallen apart, and Jake and I talked. I think the show was close to 3 hours long, and Jake and I talked about Elisa Lam for about 20 minutes, and then talked a lot about mental health and about men's mental health specifically, and getting past certain stigmas and barriers and stuff. So I need to reach back out. I dug out his email, so I'm going to reach back out and see if I can't get Jake on just to talk about what's gone on in the last 3 years, what his new project is. He has a Facebook page about ghosts, and so I want to talk to him about that. So if you have any topics or any guests, Marcus Fisher, I'm going to have Marcus on. I've got a friend, Thunder Goat. I've got a friend who has a band in Wisconsin named Thunder Goat. And check them out. Aaron and
What kind of music is it?
it's metal.
Nice.
Yeah, it's exactly what you would imagine. A band called Thunder Goat. Yeah, it's polka. Thunder Goat polka. Yeah, check out their Instagram, Thunder Goat polka. Yeah. Sorry, Aaron, I'm not making fun of your. It's a great name, and we all agree it's a great name. So I want to get Aaron on sometime. And Aaron and his wife Carrie are great people. I've met them. Long story we'll talk about when I have them on. But they came to a show I did in Milwaukee and hung out for a bit. So yeah, reach out. This will be on YouTube here probably within a day or two, and then all the podcast formats. So Paul, anything you want to promote? You've got a couple shows coming up, and
Yeah, we have that one coming up in November, and then we've got one in December 12th in Memphis as well.
At the High Tone Cafe.
Yeah, so Brandon got that one set up for us as well. That'll be our first time playing out of state.
Nice.
So
You're going to love the High Tone so much.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it.
what day of the week is that?
That's a Saturday. Tuesday, sorry.
Okay, cool.
Sorry.
Cool.
And there's another one probably that will be announced in another show. I'm not going to say anything until everything is.
And Paul's got some seances coming up.
Oh, I do, yeah. Throughout the rest of this season, starting Friday the 13th, every Friday and Saturday, aside from Saturday the 14th, I've got seances because that's Sarah's class reunion and a wedding. So
And Alice Cooper.
yeah, I know. So yeah, those
And
are-
even bigger than Alice Cooper, and even bigger than, sorry, Sarah, her reunion, Morris Day and the Time
Oh, hell yeah.
It's a
playing
state
at the
fair.
state fair.
I've actually seen them twice.
Yes, I actually might go see Morris Day and the Time. I don't know. I want to go see Alice Cooper, but I don't go by myself. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There's Paul's plea. Somebody go to Alice Cooper
Yeah,
with
somebody
him.
go see Alice Cooper or Morris Day and the Time. I would be okay with some Jungle Love by Morris Day and the Time. So,
But yeah, Haunted Arkansas tours. If you're interested in the seance, and this is a kind of
I am very interested in the seance.
I was going to say it's kind of a straight seance in that, you know, there are things that probably will happen, but that are outside of my control. So we're doing it very legitimately in an old Victorian house built in 1885, and you'll get the address when you buy a ticket.
Nice. That's so cool.
and
It's like the old Ask a Punk on a flyer.
Yeah.
I've been moving, and I've been moving. I'm halfway off the screen. I've been moving off the screen, but just so to look. Haunted Arkansas tours. I've got Booze and Brews on Wednesdays and Thursdays through the rest of the month. Paul and I have a little special show this afternoon for a private party. Any private tours you want, if you want to put together a group or a private seance, reach out. We can accommodate any size group.
As many goth girls and people as goth humans in Arkansas as there are, I really feel like that's a pretty sick party idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Paul and I do private shows often. We had one last week. We were going to go down to Hot Springs and do one, and fucking COVID.
Yeah, I've got another private one coming up in November. Corporate, I do corporate stuff too, so I'm looking forward to that.
You mean there's a corporation that's like, yeah, we got to bring in this, like, wait, what are you going to be doing for them?
I'm doing a mind reading stage show, so I'm not doing seance. Yeah, I do a lot of
God, that's so cool.
or I did a lot of corporate prior to COVID, and now it's slowly coming back. So, and I've gotten lots of requests too on those online booking places, but I'm too expensive for everybody.
Well,
that
those
goes through
online
there.
booking things, I think there's we can talk about this at some other time, but I think those are kind of a scam. I think they're, when I got a bunch, Bark was the one that I got a bunch of stuff from. Do you ever get anything from bark.com? And they wanted like 7 and 8 year old birthday parties in Pueblo, Colorado, which is a 3-hour drive from where I live.
And their budget's
paying
$300.
$150. Right. $150 for a 7-year-old birthday party, 3 hours away.
Yeah, I always start out with my fee, and mostly I get a response of you're outside of our budget. Yeah, I figured.
Well, and I tell them I don't do kid shows.
Well, yeah, no, I don't give a fee for kid shows.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Brandon, thanks, bud. It was
Yes,
awesome
thank
to
you
have
so
in.
much. This is so cool.
Well, anytime you want to stop back in, if you see somebody you want to come sit in the third chair, or I'll figure out a way to do a fourth chair. Maybe I'll put the cameras down this way, and we can have people sit around. We'll figure it out. But this is the first setup. It works pretty well. For now, we'll figure it out. So, all right, guys, we'll listen to the intro here for a second, and then check us out on all your favorite platforms and YouTube. Keep it.